Okay, so it's 5:30 on the 30th. And yeah, I was looking at TikTok and I was like, okay, 5:30, I'm stopping and I'm going to go record. And this morning, I have just been seeing so many supernatural videos, so many crazy things of, I guess, like, I don't know if it's just more people are open to it. Because when you're somebody who has talked about this stuff for a long time, you got so many people rolling their eyes and telling you you're crazy and that's ridiculous and all sorts of stuff. Nobody ever wanted to talk about it or listen about it, but now all of a sudden there's lots and lots of people. And so I don't know if the people who talk about it are being listened to more, people are more open, or what's going on. But anyways, there was a bunch of crazy stuff. I'll tell you some of them. One of them was, I saw her the other day and she was talking about, so she lives out in the Smoky Mountains. She said like right on the border of the Appalachian. And so she's like, I don't really know how it's laid out. But so she's got a forest right behind her house though. So she seems to live out on property because she has, she talks about her chickens and stuff. So anyways, and there's a bunch of people living there. So she's got like 3 sons, a daughter. It seems like maybe somebody's got kids. She's got a grandpa living with her. She's got her husband living with her. So it's a lot of people living in this house. And the first video I saw hers was that she was sitting outside. Her and her daughter were sitting in the hot tub. And that she started hearing some noise in the leaves at the forest part. And so she heard like crunching. And so she got her big flashlight and she was scanning and scanning. This was pretty creepy, really. So she was scanning the forest and then she saw something. And the thing that she saw was hiding behind a tree. So she said it was like this. Had half of its face peeking out from a tree. It had a green eye that was really shiny. And so she stopped the thing and was looking at it. And she said around it, everything was distorted. There was no, you couldn't make things out around it. Everything was real distorted looking. And so she kept staring at it and staring at it. And so as she's staring, I can't remember exactly how the whole thing went, but so she's watching it. And so then I guess it decides to peek its whole face out. So it pulls its whole face out from behind the tree and starts staring at her. And she can see these 2 green eyes shining, staring at her. And which still, every time I think about the 2 green eyes staring is because of, I've talked about this story a bunch of times, when my kids, not all of my kids, but there was a couple of them that went up to this, that church I had talked about where we lived out, and there was that Catholic church that was really creepy. And that whole area was so creepy. It was just creepy as fuck up there. But when you went to this church, there was a cemetery and stuff. And I think there was another cemetery, like there was more than one. And so they all go up there to be all creepy teenagers and stuff and decide to do a seance or something out there. And so then they said something happened. I don't remember if it was a noise like that they heard. And look over and there's these 2 green eyes staring at them. And so they all were getting freaked out. And they all start running to the car. And this thing, it seems that this thing was chasing them. I can't remember, that the eyes kept staying, following them. And then they got into the car. And I remember one of them saying they looked in the mirror thing. And you could see the eyes looking. And the thing that was about, you know, they got away or whatever. But the thing that stuck with them, that they all, for like a year, were really depressed and drained of all their energy. They were just like, it felt like their energy was sucked out of them and they felt so drained and depressed. And because everything is about energy. And so then, which I swear to God, something is draining my fucking energy out here. I am so fucking depleted. But anyways, so back to this lady's story. So the green eyes thing always gets me, because a lot of these people are always talking about these green eyes. And so she said then it sticks its head out from behind the tree and is looking at her. And so she said that it made itself, like, where she's like, this thing is intelligent, it is purposely doing things. And so it seems that she just kept holding the light on it and holding the light on it. And then and everything is distorted around it, which the distortion around things to me is the multidimensional. And so is like, kind of like they're coming through a portal or something. And so, you know how there's like a distortion, like their energy is got a distortion around it. And because it doesn't match the energy here. And so it's, it creates like this weird kind of distortion around it. I don't know what else to call it. It's shown that like in movies, it seems like Predator or something like that, where you can't really see the thing, but you see this weird distortion. And I've heard other stories of, one was some hunters that were out in the woods, and I think it was a woman, and she was in one of those hunting box things. It's like you sit in some box up in the air or something. And then she was in that, and she heard something in the trees, and she looked, and she said it didn't have like a full shape, but it was like this, she could see it was separate from other things, and it was, but everything was real distorted in it, and it was moving through the trees. And then I heard some other stories too of the same thing. So it's like this, I don't know how to explain it other than just like it's distortion around it. So that made sense to me when she was talking about that she couldn't make out the things around it because everything was real distorted looking. And so once it moved out from the behind the tree and made itself seen, then she said it went from 4 legs to 2 legs. She said it stood up, and then it was, she said, about 8 or 9 foot tall. And then it started coming towards her. And she said as it was coming towards her, it was making no noise at all. There was no noise. And her and her daughter ran, and they ran into the house and locked the doors or whatever it was. And so she was totally freaked out. And so she did this TikTok talking about something, you know, was freaking her out. And it was freaky out there by the forest. And lots of people always say, you know, because the Appalachian, I think a lot of mountain ranges, I've said before, they're not all the same. We have different portal kind of access points all around us. Not everything is solid. And so there's certain places that are different vibration. And there's lots of places like in the mountains and stuff. And I think that's one reason why they try and keep us more contained in their containment centers, like their cities and stuff, because they have more control, because they know some beings, somebody out there in control of this world knows. They're not all just like, you know, ignorant to what's going on. Is some of these beings are old. Some of them are ancient beings that are out there, like these vamps and stuff. So, and I mean, some of them go back to a long time ago, and like back to like the original families, and then it's like, I don't know. You know, I don't know every single different storyline, because it was all different storylines going on all the time. But, you know, at some point, they looked at, it seems like, because if you think about how we look at animals, that's how they look at us. And then when you think about the Sumerian tablets and the Anunnaki doing all of that to make animals into what we refer to as humans, then they, but there would still be these other higher, these other beings that would look at us as like animals. And so they look at themselves as being over us. Just like we look at animals and we think, well, we're over the animals. They look at us the same way. And also, I've said this before too, is because we are more caring and compassionate to one another. It's like inside of our soul. And that, oh yeah, because if you take the animals, they're more pure of the light. So they're more of a pure vibration in the light. So then they take the animals and then they restructure and they make them into these other beings. But it's still is that the souls that come in to go into the experience of the human are more of the light. But see, the beings of the dark don't look at it as like we're superior. They look at it as we're weaker. They look at compassion and stuff as a weakness. So they don't look at it, to them it's very foreign, caring and compassion. They look at it as a weakness. It's not a survival instinct. It's, it will, it can harm you. And it has shown through storylines that, that can be harmful to us, when we care about somebody else's feelings over our own feelings. And but I think that's part of the whole like parameters of learning in this realm, is learning to find the balance so that you don't just give too much, that you have a balance of protecting yourself, which are things that we can learn from the dark by putting our dark and our light into balance and not just being of the light. Because if you're just of the light and you come into the dark, you can be totally taken advantage of and crush your spirit. Which then it's like you gotta heal and mend your spirit to pull yourself back into balance. But that makes sense of why, you leave the light to come into the dark, because then you can pull some of the dark in to give yourself balance, because otherwise, you're just of the light. Then, so to me, reincarnation and stuff makes so much sense. It's so weird how so many people are like, like it's such a bad thing. And I see it as like, makes so much sense to me why a soul would choose to come into a realm like this to experience and to learn and to grow. And the complexity of the finding the balance between the light and the dark, and the it's like a momentum of it's like your life is this, finding your balance between going in back and forth. Just as in the micro macro, how we lean back and forth and back and forth. You can be pulled this way a little, you can be pulled that way a little. It's the same thing on a bigger level of your soul, is trying to find that perfect balance between light and dark. And so, and that's what all these different souls are learning about. That's why, as spiritual beings, you don't go into judgment of the beings that are here learning to find their balance and stuff, because it is a lot to learn and go through to find that like perfect balance. And there can always be a shift, just like you can think, like you think one thing about something, then you hear a story and all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait a minute, that gives me a whole new perspective. I don't know how I feel about it now. Maybe I feel a little bit more this way or that way. So it is a constant of trying to find a balance between the light and the dark. And so, anyways, it makes so much sense to me. But so this morning I saw her and she was doing another video, and she said, well, they were kind of freaked out. Now it was her husband, there was more people. And So her husband was trying to do something, and then with the son, they were taking the chicken out or something, and this something started chasing them. And she said it was like right over in the same place. And so she didn't tell that whole story because she had a whole nother story she started telling. I think she's gonna have a whole bunch of stories now because and this all just started. This yesterday or the day before, whatever, this just started, all this stuff. So in this one, she said that so she was out there with her husband and her son, and they were pointing the flashlight over there and trying to see. And then she's like, I'm going in to record. This is too freaky. And so she goes in. She said, well, when she got in, her phone died. It went from 60 to 0, just instantaneously. So she had to recharge her phone. And she said, so, but then she started telling a different story. So she said that they were all gone. It was just her and her daughter and grandpa. And so all the men were gone because she's got all sons besides of this daughter and and her husband. And they were all gone. 2 of her sons were at the gym. One of her sons, I think, was the dad, and they were someplace or something. And she said, and it was like that this being, whatever it is that's out there, knew that they weren't protected. And so she said, so I don't really understand the whole layout of her house, but it seems like that you go through one door, and then you maybe have like the little porch, you know, the porch entry thing. I think it's called something. And then there's a front door there. But whatever it was, she said that something came up and started tapping on the front door. And so she could hear it tapping. And then something tried to put the code in to their thing to get in. And then it beeped, and it let her know that the code didn't work. So she was really freaked out then. She said she's got an AR, and she went and got the clip, and she got and she went around and was locking all the doors. She said there was 2 doors that were unlocked, and one of them was a door that they never use. And so she was freaked out about this, and she said now there's 2 of them. It wasn't just one anymore, there's 2. And so she was going around and checking and seeing, you know, what was going on with grandpa and stuff like that. And she said that she I don't know, she was ready to start, you know, just showering this thing. The way she was saying was like it sounded like she was gonna go through the house and just do it, but I don't know. Anyways, now this, whatever it is come up and tried to get into her house. It's so fucking creepy. Like, what the fuck? And these multi-dimensional beings, it's like they're not all higher dimension. It is like there is lower dimension beings too. And the which we are in lower dimension, but there's other lower dimensions too. They're not all higher dimensions. It's not like you leave this area and you just go into the heavens. It is, to me, it's like a honeycomb. It's like just a whole bunch of different things, and there's spaces in between. And so, anyways, so some of these beings, which some people, you know, call them aliens or whatever, but they're all sorts of different beings out there. And some of them eat people. That's for sure. And then they can be in the woods. Like, I would definitely watch out. And so it happens when it's dark. So this is happening when it gets dark. And so I would say once this thing was observing, and wherever it came from, you know, it seems that we are got more open doors or something right now. And but see, we're making a shift too, where the lower vibrational is going to separate, but it's still there. It's still around. We still have, you know, all sorts of horrific things going on in this world. So we still have low dimensional vibration around. So these other beings that come, then, and some of them eat people, you know. But it seems like that this, so energetically that it can see how it can press and create fear. So it could be feeding off of them energetically, but there is some that would just eat the people, you know, just like we eat animals, they eat us. And so, and we have that with some of these beings that are here running this place. They already are eating the people. And I just ran across this other guy's video, and he was, all his content, he said, is talking about people who go missing, and then they find their bodies, but they're missing everything inside. So, and I said a long while ago that people don't realize that the trade industry, the human, that is bigger than the traffic. Like, people get so caught up in this traffic thing. It's so much bigger than that. And that's just another way that they use people, enslave people. And, you know, it's just all this using. But the thing about taking people's parts is a big thing. And so he was telling this whole story about this 21-year-old kid, and he came running in the house and he was acting real crazy. He said someone's chasing him or something. Somebody's after him. He starts looking through everybody's phone. The family starts freaking out because he's acting so crazy. So they take him to the hospital because they think, you know, he's having some kind of, you know, problem. And he's sweating and just talking crazy. And so they, the hospital doesn't do anything for him, and they leave, and they're still just like, they don't know what to do. And so he takes off. Once they leave the hospital and goes home, he takes off and go into his friend's house or something. Well, he's never seen again alive. And when they found him, everything, every organ was gone. Everything, even his penis, they took that too. So they took everything. And I was thinking, I wonder if it is like, you know, because I know that some of these people, like, I don't know, like bartenders and stuff, they don't really know, I don't think, that, I mean, I don't know, do they even want to know what really, you know, when you are putting certain things in people's drinks and stuff, do you even want to know? You're just taking your money, and you're just, you know, putting a blind eye up to what's happening in the world. That's a sellout for sure. But some people prioritize money and greed, and then some people are in a position where they fear surviving, so they'll do anything for money. That's what they do. A big thing about trying to create is a world where people are desperate and will do anything for money. And then we have that, but you should always pick integrity. You should always pick your integrity, because that's picking your soul over the what is that? It's like a lure. It's like a lure. And they'll get you into a position where, you know, you're desperate. You're desperate for food. You're desperate for this. But when you are desperate, you're giving up a part of yourself. And then you're getting yourself into this karmic entanglements too. It's just shouldn't do it. I don't even know. But there's, you know, around the place, you know, where we exist, then there's places, you know, people go out and they get drinks or whatever. And then I was thinking, I wonder if the stuff that's in it, you know, can make you kind of go crazy or something. Because there has been a lot of these. Like, I used to see these stories on Mr. Ballin, where these people would come and they would be acting really crazy, and they'd be running and doing all this stuff, and then they disappear. And makes you think, like, some people have like some weird reaction to it. And I would think, like, they're definitely, if they've given them that and the guy's they're following them. They're not just like blowing them off. They're following them. And the first opportunity they get, you know, they're going to take them and take their stuff. And so, and that's the thing too, is like, there's a darkness, you know, there's a darkness in the nightlife. And I think that, I don't know, I mean, there's like a thrill to the nightlife too, but it's like a sense of the danger or something. Like, when we know like there's a danger to the nightlife, but so many people go out to experience it. And there's so many more people now doing stories about these beings, these vamps, not just people who pretend to be vampires, not people who just are really into that whole thing, but actual people who live off of, you know, because there's other beings that have come here. There's other, you know, settlers, colonizers. There's other beings from other realms and other realities that have come into this dimension and exist. And then there's been such a huge thing of convincing the humans that there's nothing out there, that it's all, you know, I don't know, it's such a limiting way of, you know, there's only humans, and I mean, I've known people who don't even believe there's anything out there. There's nothing out there. And, ever, anywhere. There's nothing. And, I don't know, it just, to me, is so absurd. But anyways, so these other beings are around, you know, there's other beings that have been feeding off of humans too, besides these ones that take these parts, which there can be something more to that too. Like, I don't know what all parts they need to exist off of, but then if they don't take some parts to put into science, into, you know, experiments, because you'd think, why wouldn't they just live off of clones? Why wouldn't they just take, you know, parts and then build their own food source and keep it in a certain place? Why do they have to go out and interfere with us? And I would say it's got to be something more with the purity, and something more with the energy. Like, it's something more with our soul or something. Like, they need that, they need, you know, kind of like where people get a transplant and then they start having memories of stuff that the person who had the original part, or they'll start having, you know, like, they hated cheeseburgers, but this person whose lungs they got loved cheeseburgers, and so then all of a sudden they want to eat cheeseburgers all the time. Or the person whose lungs they got, they smoked, and so all of a sudden it's like, man, I just want to smoke, you know. And then you start picking up on something, like there's something that stays. It's like the remnants or something. Like it's there's something kind of like your soul is in this vessel, which is so trippy because it's really like this hologram thing, but there's like a bleed out, so parts of you are left. Like, if somebody takes a part of that, they get a part of you. So I don't know, everything is so weird, because when it's a certain level, when you start thinking like, this is all an illusion, it is just trippy. It trips me out. Like, how do they make us sick in a hologram? How do they make us sick in an illusion? And but anyways, but that's how real or virtual this world is, this experience is, you know, so you can feel it and experience it. So Anyways, I don't know, just trippy though. But so it must be that they have to take because if you just took a bunch of, if you just had a clone garden and you were just taking stuff out there, it would not have the same, just like how they want us to like eat fake three-dimensional printed out meat or whatever, then or this artificially grown stuff, it's not the same. And so I think that's, they need the more pure. So because it seems weird, if you just need parts and you got all this science behind you, why wouldn't you just grow the part? Why do you got to go out and steal them out of people? Well, there's got to be something more to it. And it must be, the elixir that is penetrating those things, because it is a big thing in the darker community. Like people of the darker skin tone have known about this this stealing of these things for a long time, and they were aware of, like, going to prison and stuff, like those people, when they are, oh well, we died in prison, and then people have gone and said, well, we want his body, we want to bring it home, and we want to have an autopsy and stuff, and then they find that things are missing. So they have known about this corruption for a long time, where it's like, some of us are just finding out about it. But anyways, it's big. And but anyways, so there's some of these beings that are in the forest, because it's weird, because there's so many different things, because it's also because of the fluctuation, like in the vibration or whatever. You can have things like, you think of ghosts and stuff like that, and then the spaces that hold different periods of time, because everything is like there at the same time. It just depends on what channel you're on. Then there's like crossover, and I don't know, it seems kind of like when it crosses in, that it becomes more like in its own reality. It could be, running and having an experience, its own reality. But then when it kind of folds into ours, it's more Skeletor or something. Like it's not the same as it was, but everything depends on the vibration, because there can be vibrations where they come through and look the same. But anyways, there's all like that was that one guy who was driving out through the forest or whatever it was. He was driving out where there was nothing, and I don't even like to drive at night. But that big creature thing that jumped in the back of his car. But he said when he very first saw it, it almost looked like a Confederate soldier was injured on the side of the road. And then all of a sudden, when it jumped in the back of his car, it looked like this Skeletor giant thing. And so, so that's why I was thinking, I wonder if it's like, it depends on what the vibration is, what the kind of the part of you, the scene, how it's held, like the structure of you, how it's perceived, is kind of like through the vibration. It seems like, kind of, and anyways, but that lady's just, I'm sure she's gonna do more stories now every night. I'm sure there's gonna be something going on. It is creepy. But fuck, there's so many creepy stories about the Appalachian, so many creepy ones. And that one nurse who's always telling, like, when she was going out and going in, she would have to go to, she was a nurse who had to go do home health and go check on these people. I don't know, she worked for insurance or whatever it was. She had so many creepy stories, but then she lives out there and she's got creepy stories in her own house. She's always got creep ass stories. And then I saw this other one that I had not seen before. And somehow I got into this algorithm where I was seeing a whole bunch of these this morning. So, and this is over by Chicago, one of the piers or whatever. And so this lady, she was a security guard. She has a whole bunch of stories. She's been able to pick up on other beings and stuff since she was little. And so she said that, so she had awareness of things, you know, that other people think are, you know, hullabaloo. And so she was a night security guard. And she said that she only lasted 2 months. And she got just way too creeped out. And when she said one of the things was that you could hear these kids running and playing, and you could hear all of them like laughing and playing and running across the pier and stuff like that. She said it was really creepy, and she told her boss, and her boss said there's a ball there, set the ball out for them to play with. And the lady's like, what? And she said, but then they started messing with things all over her desk. Things kept moving around and stuff. So she went and got the ball and she put it down. And she said right away the ball got kicked, moved, and started going. And she said as soon as it was in a certain place, then she said it all started with them running and laughing. And you know, she could hear the ball being kicked and stuff and going up and down the pier. And so she was, so that freaked her out. And then she said that, it seemed like that there was another thing, but the thing that got her to quit was the mermaids. And so she talked about that there's, mermaids out in, whatever body of water that is out there. And that there was a naval pier, and she said that they have a pod under the naval pier. And so when she would go out and she'd do the security guard thing of the piers, that she had to walk down to the end of this one. And she has more stories too. This was the one, this story was where she was like, they have to go down and scan some code or something. And so she would be totally freaked. And so she's going down there. It's like 2:30 at night. It's totally dark. And then she hears all this splashing. And then she hears these women laughing in the water. And she said it was, she was totally freaked out. So she took her light, because she said it's, the water is it's an intense current right there. And it's dangerous. And so she's thinking, no way could people be in the water. And what would a bunch of women be doing in the water right now? And so she starts scanning with her flashlight, same as this other lady. And so she's scanning with her flashlight, and then she sees 8 sets of eyes. Yeah, it was 8 sets of eyes. And she said they were all this bright blue and bright green looking back at her. And so she, I was trying to think. So I think that she said that she took off, that she was like totally freaked. And she took off when she looked out and she saw them all sitting there staring at her. And she said that she still can't, some Harry Potter movie, she said there's a part where he's like holding a mermaid egg or something. And then this thing comes in and it starts making this certain kind of laughing. And she said it's kind of like this laughing, growly kind of sound or something. She said that was the sound that they made. And she can't watch it in this show. She said it freaks her out because that was the sound that they made. Is they put these things, they put truth in the movies all the time. They put things that are true. And I don't know how it all works, you know, like if the person writes the story and then I don't know. I know like Hollywood is, you know, ran by, you know, the Z's. And so, and those beings are old. And they think they're so over as, you know, and they don't even call us animals. They call us like Gorham or something, Golem or something, you know, like we're just nothing. And, you know, I just recently heard old Finkel talking again, and he's just so, but there's more people now sharing his stuff. So more people becoming aware of, you know, how they look at us and stuff. Wish somebody did all of the products that we think of are American products that are made in like the USA, because one of them was Levi's, which I know that they switched, you know, they started making Levi's in Vietnam and all over the place, but that there's still these products that we think of as being American, you know, Pepsi, but a whole bunch. Fuck, there was a bunch. And they aren't. They are all owned by the real. They are all owned by the Z's. They own our fucking, they fucking own our ass, man. Everything is, it's the craziest thing. So, yeah, and if you want to boycott all of it, it's like you got to boycott everything. You got to boycott it all. Otherwise, you're supporting people who are out trying to kill you and kill everybody else. So, and they run it, they run the world. They run everything. It's the banker, that's all of it. And so funny too, because when you tell people like, oh, the bankers or whatever, you know, because my sister was like, oh my God, do you think bankers are eating kids or eating babies or whatever? It's like, certain ones, yeah. You just don't, I mean, the people who don't know what's going on, it's like, Jesus, you just don't know what's going on, man. But yeah, these people are horrible. And so anyways, so this lady, she was talking about that the mermaids are in there, and there's a pod. It's under this naval pier, and that they've been there a long time, and that people go missing. And she said that, so she quit that night, and she told her boss, you know, and so then her boss calls her like 2 weeks later, and she said that she quit. And she asked her, you know, what'd you quit for? And she said, well, I did the night shift, and I had to go down there and do that code. And she said, I had the strongest feeling that I was being compelled. I was being pulled, like they were trying to pull me into the water. They were trying to get me to jump into the water. And she said it freaked her out. But the lady who was telling all this, she said that that happens all the time. People are always going missing in the water. People jump in and fall in. She said when she was a kid that she went into the water, and she said that her mom came running over to grab her out of the water. But she said that her mom was saying that there was a hand that was pulling her down. But see, these, and that's the thing, is people want to look at it as like mermaids. That is a freaking cartoon. These people are not mermaids. When Corey Good talked about the aquatic beings, you know, who we think are mermaids, these half human, half fish beings, that they are not pretty, and they are not nice, and they hate humans, and they eat us, and they are not pleasant at all. And that there was some other stories, and because there was a story about these, it was like a ship. It was like the ship, and it started sinking or something. So a bunch of the guys got on this lifeboat, and when they got on the lifeboat, they told the story of these beings that started grabbing them off of the lifeboat, and that they were super scary looking. And these were what mermaids are. I think they have like sharp teeth. They don't have like beautiful hair going. I think they have like kind of, you know, like a creepy, hairy kind of, you know, like not pretty, and not like a whole lush thing of hair. And I think that they kind of are more bald a little, and they sound more like a really creepy kind of vampire looking thing that lives in the water. And that so a couple of the guys survived and told what happened, but they were pulling the guys into the water and killing them and eating them. And so all the guys on the lifeboat didn't make it. And so, but these are all stories, you know, they keep in the download. Like, yet now you have to go and look in like disclosure documents and stuff from the 3-letter agencies to even find these stories. But anyways, but Corey had talked about that when because he would have to be a translator, so he would speak to the different beings in telepathy. and that they would, this is what I think, that's what they would have had me do if they would have been able to catch me when I was a kid. But he would have to go and speak to them in telepathy, and he said that aquatic beings were so scary. He said that you could just sense how much they hated humans. But then look at what we do to their world. Like, look what we do to the waters. So it makes sense that we would be their enemy, that they don't like us. And I mean, it's coming out all over the place now that these elite, rich, I mean, because it's not just regular rich people. These are a different class of rich, and that they have these things hunted in the water and they eat them. And so they're eating the mermaids. So, what are the mermaids going to do? They're going to eat us right back. It's like a cannibalistic world that we got going here. It's super creepy, really. So then this girl, she was talking about like Michigan, and that there's sirens in Lake Michigan, and that which I would think that is kind of like the same thing. I would think all of these aquatic beings are just aquatic beings, and but they're not just in these I don't know, like they tell us like the ocean or whatever, but some of these lakes that are super, super giant, that they have got them living in these lakes. And she was talking about all this weird stuff that goes on in these lakes, and people go missing all the time in them and drowned all the time. And she said there's even a part where there's all these bodies or something, and they're all like frozen looking up at you or something creep ass shit. I don't know. There's so many things out there that are super creepy. People are just like oblivious to it. It's like, no, this place where we're at got some creepy shit, man. And you gotta watch out. And that doesn't mean like, it's devils and demons and all that. That's a limiting perspective, if you ask me. But there is these lower vibrational beings that, by life standards would be more dangerous because they'll eat you. And so I don't know. It's kind of like, going into the jungle and not realizing that the lions and hippos and shit will eat you, which I just heard a horrific story of a family or a couple that went on one of these African safari things, like they were older, retired, so they decided to go on one of these African safari adventures. And they're on a tour with this tour guide, and the tour guide has one of these, and so he pulls up on the hippos, and he's letting the people like watch the hippos, and then he goes off. Like, he doesn't stay there with them. He goes off for a few minutes to do something. I don't know what the hell he's doing. And one of the hippos comes up, grabs one of the people, and eats her right in front of her husband. So then I guess they hear all the screamings. The guy comes running back, but there's nothing they could do. They couldn't save her at that point. But it's me. And I've heard of, because this one was somebody who was even from Spokane when this happened. And it might have been by Idaho. Or it was up there by where we lived, because people knew these people. And, but they had a family of, it was like the mom, the dad, the 2 kids. I think they had 2 kids. It could have been 3 kids. But one of them was a teenage daughter. And so they went on one of these African safaris, and they were in a boat. Seems like they were like in a canoe, some kind of canoe kind of boat thing. And they were paddling out, and there was alligators all over the place. And an alligator just came up and grabbed the teenage girl out of the boat and took her down and killed her right in front of the family and ate her. And It was very, very traumatic. So, you know, it was like all these people around where in Spokane, like, knew the people, and there's like, oh my God, you know, it's very traumatic. And, supposedly what it was is that she was on her period, and it could smell the blood or something, and so it went up and grabbed her out of the boat. It's like, I don't know. There's so many things of like where we got to kind of know our parameters and danger. Will Robinson, we need to know what it is that we are in danger of. And then the whole supernatural that they tell you is a supernatural world, but really it's our natural world, is that is out there too. Like, you gotta, you know, there is things, but it's not like you need to fear ghosts. Like, there is like certain parameters. It just depends on what the entity is what, because they can't, like, you know, like a lot of people start thinking like, well, ghosts can hurt you and stuff like that. And then you see some of these people where they're getting scratched and bitten and pulled up to the ceiling and stuff like that. I don't know that those are just ghosts, you know, just a spirit that's out of his body. I would think it's some type of other entity. And then the thing is you feed that entity, you make it stronger through fear. And so the more you fear it, the more it builds. But I don't know. You know what I was thinking about the other day when I was out here? I was, I don't know, I was just like looking around, and I was thinking, oh, I remember I was driving through, maybe it was that day I went and got those plants, but I was driving, I was like, all these new developments, so many new developments. And I was thinking, I bet you so many developments are built on some kind of ancient burial grounds and ancient kind of areas where there was a lot of trauma and stuff. And then we just ignore it and just build on top of it, which my daughter said, like over there in Thailand and stuff, like they think about that. Like if you go and get property or something, that you have to make peace with the energies that are there already and make offerings, and you give them their own space. Like you build them a little house that they can live in, and before you build your house. And so but here we just, you know, are oblivious, and they just build these new and developers, they don't give a fuck. I don't even think that they even think anything about anything supernatural. They don't even consider their own soul. They're so busy, you know, in a phase of greed that they don't think about anything else. And so they're just popping up new neighborhoods and all sorts of places that I'm sure has got all sorts of bad energy. I've heard so many creep ass stories of hauntings and stuff like that in newer neighborhoods, even in that house that I moved into. And before, when we lived out on the property, and it was like next to that Catholic church, was so fucking creepy. There was so much creepy ass shit out there. And then we were right across the street from another cemetery, and there was always just creepy shit. And there was another one that was like an Indian one right down below us. There was like, it was very creepy. No telling what all the fuck went on up there. And then I wanted to move away from there. I just, the whole vibe, I just didn't like the vibe at all. And so I wanted to move into a neighborhood, and I wanted my kids to get to experience, you know, being kids in a neighborhood, because that was so much fun when I was a kid. And so I got this house and moved into it, and it ended up being so fucking haunted. I could not believe how haunted this house was. And it would at first I was like, how can this be? Like, this is a new house. How could it be haunted? And then it was like, that's when I started being like, oh, it's the area. It isn't just the house. It's not just like the house is haunted. It's the area. It's what is in that land. And I don't even know what all was in that, you know, because there is layers of it's like layers of realities. And so I don't even know what all we were layered on top of, because I know at one point my daughter said this little girl came into a room and she looked like a little pioneer. And then that one creep ass guy who was in my daughter's television, who chased him up the stairs. And that's the one I think is like the dark energy that when I would be downstairs, I would come like over you like a shadow. And you could just feel like this tension. It was so creepy. And it was like you wanted to run up the stairs, but it was like it didn't want to feed into its thing and give it more energy. And but then there was also some other thing, because it was like a poltergeist or something, because everything broke all the fucking time. I have to get a new dishwasher, then the washer would break. I have to get a new washer, then the dryer would break, then the dishwasher would break again, then the fridge would, it was just non-fucking stop, break. I was like, oh my fucking God. And then also that, you would hear things. You would hear things moving around and stuff. It would sound like somebody was moving furniture. And so, I don't know. It seemed like there was a lot going on in that house all the time. And I wonder, the next people who got the house, because that's the one I lost when I got my brain injury. Because I thought I was going to stay there and, that was going to be my house forever. That my kids would always be able to come back to there. And it's so crazy because there's certain things that you want in life, or you think like, well, you're not asking too much. This is a normal thing. And it's like, yeah, but that's not where you're going. That's not your future. And you could sit there and fight it and try and force it. But there's a future in line for you. There's a future plan for you. And it isn't always what you think it's going to be, that's for sure. But anyways, and I wondered a bunch of times, like, what is those people's experience after the fact? That other house, too, I've lived in a bunch of haunted houses. To me, it's like every house, at a certain point when I realized there's hauntings in houses, that every house after that I was in, there was spirit, or at least one. And but the one when I was a teenager, where the composer guy who had killed himself in the house, and it was there was so much weird stuff with that family, because it's like their son was deaf, and then their daughter, she went crazy and tried to burn the house down. The dad killed himself. Then there was something wrong with their youngest child. I don't remember. It was some sort of disability or something, it seems like. So then the daughter, I think, I don't know if she stayed locked up. It seems like something happened to one of the kids or whatever. So anyways, the dad is dead. The mom gets remarried to somebody else. But she has two of the kids. So one of the kids isn't with her. I think it's the youngest kid was disabled. And then maybe it was the other son who was deaf. I don't remember. But anyways, her new husband and both those kids got murdered in their next place that they went and lived. It was like, fuck, man. Sometimes tragedy just fucking follows families. It's so crazy. Then there was another one too that we had lived, and it was like the people after the people who had moved out. It was the same thing. The whole family had gotten murdered or something. Like, what the fuck, man? So creepy. And I don't remember that whole story. It was something I think like they had an Italian restaurant or something. And I don't remember. Or maybe a Chinese restaurant. It could have been something, gang related. I don't remember. But it was something really tragic like that too, where the whole family got killed. So I don't know. This world is way different than what we think it is. That's for sure. I saw this one story, which I thought this was sweet, because I've said before that I don't believe in just like gayness, like you only like one thing. It is because that cuts you. My stomach's growling. I made banana chocolate chip bread, and it still is like, let's go, girl. She loves that shit. So anyways, the because love, if we're here to experience love and we're here to learn about love, it is, it can come in all different ways. There's all different experiences. There's all different ways to learn about it. And you wouldn't have like that limitation. And I swear to God, back when I was younger and it started being gay, all these gay guys, and then they're just like, oh, they just didn't like women. No, they just didn't like women. And I would always be thinking, well, how is it you can just be attracted to one thing? Like it didn't make sense to me. And so they, but then as time went on, I started seeing it more as like, oh, that's where it comes out as like a fetish. It's more sexual, and it's not about love. We've gotten way far out from love anymore. Everybody is just indulgent into sex and fetish and stuff and what turns them on and, stuff like that. And guys, with guys, can get real down and dirty. And so a lot of them get really into that kind of sex scene. Anyways, we have tons and tons of people now who look at themselves as like, well, I'm gay. I'm attracted to guys. I like to have sex with guys. And they don't think of it on these other levels of like, I think our species has gotten way away from love, of what it is, to love and appreciate somebody. Everything is so indulgent into sex. For fuck's sake, I just saw this girl showing these pictures of this 5-year-old that this mom has dressed her and taken all these pictures. And it's like, what? Why would you dress your kid like they're going to the nightclub? It's like, what in the world is going on? Yeah, kid, get out there, sell it. It's just... oh my God. And these little girls, like, these keep coming across. And the way they're posing and have all this makeup on and stuff. It's like, man, our society is like warped, I swear to God. And then, so anyways, so this video I saw this morning was this guy. And he said, he was gay. And he had been gay for 12 years. He'd been living as a gay man for 12 years. And then all of a sudden he started having this spiritual awakening, and he started questioning things, and he started looking at things different. And he said that he decided to sell all of his stuff and to move. And so he was like a city Chicago guy. And so he got an RV and went out and started traveling. And he had this dog for 12 years. So he had this dog this whole time too. And so he's, going out and questioning everything, trying to, understand like what's going on with him. Why is he changing now? And what is he seeing all these things differently? And then he started talking to some woman on Instagram, and he got really attracted to her. She was in Croatia. And so then he's like, what is going on with me? Like, what is my attraction to this woman? And he's like totally questioning, like, how could this be? I'm a gay guy. And see how limiting labels can be when you trap yourself into, well, I'm a gay guy. I'm a gay guy. I don't like women. I'm a gay guy. It's like, yeah, but you're creating a limitation for yourself. You're building a prison cell around yourself because, a woman could come in and then you are attracted to her, that you love her, that you think she's special, and you've cut it off because, you're a gay guy. You couldn't go there. And, and some people go so deep into their fetish that at some point, then if they try and be more, normal or whatever, then they feel like, guilt or shame about themselves. It's like, man, we put ourselves into these prison cells, and then we build the bars thicker and thicker. And so anyways, so he is finding himself attracted to this woman. So now he's questioning everything. He's questioning his identity. He's so confused. And then his dog dies, and he was like destroyed. He said that was the worst pain he had ever felt. was going through that, which, fuck, man, I swear to God, it's, and, so then he, decides he's going to go to Croatia and meet this lady. So he has a 30-day, or he has, I guess he had a 90-day pass, but he was going to come back in 30 days because he had to get back to his dog. But now his dog was gone, which kind of trips me out because it's like the dog was like, okay, I'm leaving now, so you're going to go on a new adventure, which is like, I don't know. I think we don't really want to look at it. I know I don't really want to look at things like that, but that is the way things are. And so she, so he goes and he meets this lady, and they fall madly in love. And he decides to stay 90 days. And at the end of the 90 days, he brings her back to America and takes her back to his family and meets all the family. And so he's going in this whole new direction in his life because he's been living as a gay man, as an adult this whole time. And he thought he was a gay man. That's how he looked at himself. And so now his whole identity is shredding and falling apart. And he's becoming this person that he doesn't even recognize, that he's enjoying it. He's like, you know, she's so special. She's so wonderful. And so then they get married. Then they come back and they start going, you know, driving around in the RV for a while. And now I guess they're back in Croatia. But anyways, he's doing this video thing talking about, like, you know, what happened, how he all of a sudden had this one identity, and how when his spiritual awakening all of a sudden shredded his identity. But he does go more into the Christ. So he is like, he's a follower of Christ now. But to me, the Christ is your holy self. It's, you know, following your truth. It's becoming the most purest sense of self. So it's not being inclined and being trapped into the cells that are created for us, or the prisons that we create for ourselves under the labels and established rules and all of these identities that we create, or we latch onto to try and discover and understand ourselves. And we latch onto these available identities that are limitations, and then we keep our structure of self, our identity, wrapped around that. But then as you become more open to your holy self, your Christ self, your soul, the identity of what you really are, then it breaks through all of that. It breaks it all down, and you have to shed who you thought you were, because you're not who you think you are. You have to shed all of this false identity that you created for yourself in order. It's like you built your avatar up in this world that you came into. So you thought that you were building an acceptable avatar, but then all of a sudden you see, like, well, that avatar worked through this, but to leave and level up, that avatar can't carry you into the next level up. You have to shed the old avatar in order to level up and go out into the next stage of development. And so everything is about this shedding. So a big part of the spiritual awakening is about this shedding, this identity, this fake identity, this fake ideal that you've created around who and what you are. And it's so funny too, because there's so much of, like, people don't realize, like, how much you try and fit in. Like, I saw this the other day, and I was kind of just like, this is so weird. And it was a Thanksgiving thing. And so the first guy came out to show his dish. And it was like a Friendsgiving, I would say. So, and it had all these different people, and they were showing their dish and what they had made, which, man, they were making some spectacular fucking things for this thing. But all of the people were so much the same. They were all this flamboyant. They all talked the same. It was this, you know, I don't know, like, it's like going and being around these people thinking, oh, they're so cool. And then you start talking like them and dressing like them and acting like them. And then pretty soon you're just a whole group. And then you're kind of stuck in this identity. And it's like, it's very consuming. And then it's like, because there wasn't anybody else coming to this. There was nobody that was different. They were all like the same. I was like, that's so weird. And it's so weird too how people think like they're unique and different, but really you're just in a group of all the same. And they all acted the same when they came out and showed their thing, and they talked the same. And I was like, that is so weird. I don't know. It's so weird. It's like, I don't know. I don't know. I think that we as humans, we need to just be so much more open, not so closed off. And that people are so eager to be identified in something that they see as acceptable. And that's a big part of our problem in our society right now, is why it's so extreme. Nobody wants to just be normal. Nobody wants to just be regular. But the thing is you're not normal. There's nothing about you that's normal. Every single person is unique upon itself, but you're trying to create yourself to be normal, to fit into something. So you're taking away from your uniqueness to become acceptable in whatever crowd you align with. And I don't know, and people are just like so much more wanting to just be so strange and trying to be so different on the outside too. Like some of these people, I mean, I have a lot of tattoos, but some of these people, they go so fucking extreme. I mean, we got so many people with tattooing all over their faces and stuff, putting in these horn things. I saw a girl the other day, she sliced her tongue, slit her tongue. So I don't even understand why people are doing like these weird piercing things. There was a girl and she had this giant thing here, so she puts this giant thing here, which, you know, and you know, it seems like, God, what the fuck with all this weird shit. But then you go and you see these tribes, and there's these tribes of people, and, you know, they put all these rings on their neck, or they put these big things in their lips, or all that. And it's like, I don't know, maybe some of these people are from these tribes, and then they're coming into this other, you know, other life. And so that's a part of their coded system. And so they feel like they've got to still do something like that. I don't know. Oh yeah, because I just saw another video talking about there's a whole bunch of tribes out there that are untouched. They have no idea that anything else is going on in the world except for what's going on in their tribe, in their place. And there's way more of those than what they let on to us that we don't know about, that there's so many of them. Which, you know, everything they're watching, everything is like a social experiment or something. Probably, yeah, there's no telling what they do to fuck with those beings too. Like, they probably have drones fly down, and those people are like, what the hell is that? You know, they're not talking, but, you know, they don't have no idea about technology and stuff. And, which, there's a whole nother thing. So there's way more going on over there with California and the earthquake situation. And this one place that it dropped like 6 feet in overnight down into the water. There's, which this person was saying there's 17 volcanoes there. And there's a couple that are showing this activity. And there's one that is showing this activity as a gas one. And the gas one, which there was a place, and I can't remember where it was, but I had seen about it. And it was a while ago. And it seems like maybe it was in Africa or something. But it was a village, and something happened. and there was some kind of a thing. I don't remember if it was like an explosion or something happened. And then all the people were dead. And then, so the people were coming from other villages and all the people were dead. And then they were finding that it was some sort of a gas. That's the thing about these gases, these volcanoes that have these gases. I was like, fuck, man. These things start going off a whole fucking, you know, because it's not just villages now. I mean, it's whole communities. And those things blast out that gas overnight and it kills all of those people. Like, whatever is coming is going to be intense. It's going to be something. And it's going to be a lot of things going at once. And because it's going to be like a domino thing. And so, I don't know. But there is a lot more going, and supposedly the officials in California don't want it on the news because they don't want to decrease the tourism, and they don't want to cause mass panic. And they say, you know, well, we don't know for sure when it's going to happen, but there's scientists saying within 2 months that something big is going to happen, that there's way too many shifts. They're in places where they're saying, oh yeah, there was 4 earthquakes, that there's more like 117 earthquakes happening in a day. So there's tons of shifts, tons of things going on. And there's something about something hot going under, and it's causing it to like rise and shift and fall and stuff. So I don't know. It's like they've said for so long, California is going to fall into the ocean. They've said this like back when I was living in it, and they would talk about the big one, you know, and it could be scary, but you know, you'd have to kind of just go about your life. And but to me, it's like, I don't know, there's a part of this world, this life, that is telling us to pay attention to the earth, pay attention to these things, start thinking outside the box. And that, so it's kind of like, it's like slowly being severed. So when this thing goes, it does make me think, is it going to be like in that movie where it shows where it just pops up and then goes down? It's so creepy. I don't remember what movie it is. It's one of those Armageddon movie, or one of those End of the World movies, whatever it is. I don't remember which one. But it, this big part just pops up and goes straight up and then falls down. And it's like, oh my God, how fucking creepy. And so anyways, I don't know. But California is obviously, they are trying to make sure to not create panic, which, you know, you would think if they really cared about the people that they would start saying, hey, you know, this is getting serious. And we think that people should start evacuating, going inland and getting off of the coastline because something bad's coming. But they don't care. And then in the bigger scheme of things, you know, that is the exit for a lot of people. So, you know, we're not all here for the same thing. So, but it is going to be a lot of healing coming after all of this stuff goes down. And I saw somebody talking about their prophetic dream or whatever, and they said all the people were walking around like there was some bad thing about something that they had to breathe or something, you know, which makes you think about these gas volcanoes or whatever. But then he said that everybody's just walking around like a zombie, and but you know, there could be a period of that, like when bad stuff all of a sudden happens and everybody's kind of just like in shock of like, you know, it's going to be extreme. And so it may not be like that everybody's like zombies, but it may be like, you know, as a species, we're kind of all like in shock of like, you know, what do we do now? Like, fuck. And it's going to be traumatic. I can't imagine like a whole bunch of all these, you know, especially three quarters of the population goes at once, then that it wouldn't affect, like every single person wouldn't be affected somehow. I don't think, what's the chances that you would not know anybody? And who knows if it is going to be like coming like quadrants or something. If it's going to be like, okay, there's bad things going to happen and half the population is gone, because it is very populated area. And when you consider the population of America, And so some of these areas are super populated. And so if all those people get killed, then that would be a big reduction in the population for here. And then is it going to be, when it splits apart, that the other people, I don't know. I don't know how these numbers are run in this whole thing of how everything is going to come to an end, and then, the people who are here to start over, and, how, I don't know. I mean, the whole thing can be quite overwhelming when you think about it. It's like, fuck, man, it's going to be intense. And we're got to be getting closer and closer. I mean, so many people can feel it. So many people feel so anxious. They could feel something's coming, what's happening? And who knows? Who knows is how it's going to go down? And it's just so weird. It's like we came here for this. Like, what the hell? It's so weird. Like, we came here for this. It's like, why? What the hell's wrong with us? It's like, but there's going to be a huge amount of growth, a huge amount of learning. This is a big evolution that's going to occur during all of this, because it's going to go from this selfish state of self-indulgent fucking fetish and hatefulness and everything, and then this slap, boom, and then all of a sudden it's like this depth to people's like feeling and their caring and compassion, and like, oh my God. So it's gonna hit hard, but it is something that has to happen, for humanity to evolve, to move out of this self-indulgent, hateful energy that we are trapped in. So anyways, I don't know. The whole thing is just so curious, because there's like this, we try and put it together in our three-dimensional understanding, but there's so much more about it, the spiritual side of it, and the spiritual side of this world is making itself known all over the place. So anyways, I don't know. Who knows what's going to happen today and what's going to happen tomorrow. And the biggest thing is just learning how to keep your sanity through it, And in order to keep your sanity, the biggest thing to me is to keep remembering, like, this isn't real. This isn't real. This is like, we came into this movie, into this realm to experience this, but none of it's real. And we escape it. We get out of it. We're not trapped here. And but we're here to learn from the experience. So I don't know. It's the perspective that I need in order to be able to maintain my sanity, because it is intense. So anyways, but the main thing I'm telling you that we need to be working on is ourselves. As what everything is happening here is for this evolution to occur, for humans to pull themselves out of this ignorance, this self-indulgent, artificial world that we have found ourselves as. It's not just that we became a part of it, was like it became our world. We fed that world. And so it's, it's time to stop feeding the beast and start finding yourself, because it is this time of redesign and leveling up, and you can't take the old avatar with you. You got to create a new one, and it's got to be more pure of your spirit. It's got to be more you, of a unique person that you are. And so anyways, that's how it all starts to me, is starting with learning how to love yourself, getting out of the shame and the guilt that you have built around you in order to become somebody you thought was acceptable in this world. Okay. And so learn how to love yourself, learn how to love everybody else, and learn how to have the day you want to have, because it does take practice. You do have to find yourself like, okay, everything's gonna be fine, everything's gonna be fine. This place is crazy as shit. So anyways, we'll see what this day brings us. No telling. You gotta be aware of it all. Anything can happen. And then you gotta find yourself being safe in it, not being overburdened, not being in fear, and realizing, you're eternal. You're fine. Nothing can hurt you. So anyways, we'll see what this day brings. We'll talk about it tomorrow. So I'll talk to you later. Bye.